Council. And I'll ask everyone to now please rise for Roll Canada. So again, welcome to everyone. We'll begin our meeting with the land acknowledgement. So as we gather, we are reminded that the municipality of South Huron is situated on Treaty 29 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. And as a community, we have a responsibility to honor and respect this territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived, continue to live upon it, and whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. In the spirit of reconciliation and truth, we recognize and acknowledge the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples on whose traditional territory we are meeting. Thank you for that. We move on to item number 2. Ms. Masuda-Carlson.
The South Huron Council approves the agenda as presented.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor McLeod-Haggett, seconded by Councillor Vaughan. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries a 7. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Item 3. Are there any disclosures at this time? Not seeing any. Move on to presentations, which we have none, and then we move on to our delegations, and we welcome our friends from the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. Welcome. Good to see you. How are you, Jim? Yeah, you're not speaking tonight, Jim? Just here. Okay, go ahead, Tracy, whenever you're ready. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor Flinch, and thank you for having us tonight, where we give a little bit of an overview of the budget for the 2025 year for the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. So if you're following along, this is item 5.1 of your agenda. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I always like to remind everyone about the general area of the Upper Thames River watershed shown on the map there, and with all of our partnering municipalities, and really wanted to highlight that when conservation authorities were formed, they were formed as a provincial municipal partnership. We've always strived to have programs and services that reflect our long-standing goal to bring as much value into this watershed through environmental programming and through outreach and education and water quality, all of the programs that we offer, and doing that as much as we can. And we leverage that municipal support in doing our programs and services. We enter into partnerships, we provide excellent return on investment when we have those partnerships, and deliver those programs and services back out to our member municipalities across the watershed jurisdiction. Next slide, please. So today I'll be giving a little bit of an overview of our programs and services, speaking specifically about our 2025 draft budget considerations, highlighting some of the capital projects that are happening this year, and then our other municipal programs and services that we offer. So as you may recall, we have had to categorize our programs and services to align with our regulation now. So Ontario Regulation 686/21 is our mandatory programs and services, and that's required all conservation authorities to identify what are mandatory and identified through that regulation. And that's where municipal levy can be used without any agreement because the province has deemed them mandatory. We have other non-mandatory programs where a municipality may request us to undertake programs and services on their behalf, where they're often legislated to do so. An example would be our risk management services under the Drinking Water Act. So we do that for a number of our municipalities. And then we have our other programs and services, and that's where a program or services may be deemed advisable by the Conservation Authority because they provide a greater watershed benefit and don't follow those political boundaries of municipalities. And that's where we have cost apportioning agreements. So highlighting again some of those mandatory programs and services so that you're aware, planning and regulations, everything that we do to enforce the Conservation Authorities Act through our permitting program. Also planning activities, again, we're tied to natural hazards, commenting on Planning Act applications and reviewing any technical submissions, both for site-specific applications, but also on behalf of the province when there's a comprehensive review, whether an official plan amendment or zoning bylaw amendment. We provide many water management services related to our flood forecasting and warning, our infrastructure operations and maintenance. We have a lot of infrastructure in the Upper Thames. Any mapping studies and information management that we provide, again, often informing our hazard management program and water management. Any climate risk and mitigation activities, low water response as well, that's tied to that. And then that outreach and education related to hazard management too. We have land management activities, those passive land management activities on our passive recreational lands, often having to deal with encroachment, risk management, all those liability issues when you own land. But providing the public access to our lands for that passive recreational use. And by doing so, we're often able to further enhance our lands for natural heritage preservation too. We've got a lot of property that are floodplain, and we've been working hard to forest it, naturalize it as well. We're also responsible for the Provincial Water Quality Monitoring Network. That's both surface water quality and groundwater quality monitoring. The Drinking Water Source Protection Plan for the Thames and Sydenham region. And then our watershed strategy implementation, and of course those essential corporate costs like overheads, HR, insurance, all that stuff. Next slide. So when we've gone through our 2025 draft budget, we've certainly provided an estimate right now. Figures are constantly changing and evolving as we have more known costs. Some of our insurance costs just came in a couple weeks ago. Lots of things will be refined. So this is still a draft as we work through our budget finalization. We've tried to balance our budget for Category 1 programs. And that's a main component because really in the past, we've often dipped into reserve funding and we've had deficits. So trying to have a balanced budget is something that I know municipalities cannot have, but conservation authorities can. And we've been using that, especially during this constant time of change and not knowing the final direction from the province. We've also, as a result, had to increase the municipal share of those Category 1 programs and services. So really our goal has always been about stabilizing the funding for the mandatory, that Category 1 program and service. Next slide. So we've also looked at other funding sources. We just found out at the end of last week that the provincial freeze on planning and permitting fees has been extended through 2025. So we have limitations on what we can collect for cost recovery when it comes to planning and permitting. Right now, our amount that we recoup is only around 33% of our planning and permitting. And that's because this freeze fee, that's a hard thing to say, has been in effect for a few years now. We've also always applied for funding through the WECI program or the Water and Erosion Control Infrastructure Program. And that amount has remained at $5 million for over 20 years. And that $5 million is distributed province-wide and it's based on priority of projects. So we do include that in our capital plan. There has been some changes to the WECI program that it's allowed us to apply for projects to cover 2 years, but that pot's small. So, and there are some projects that have to be done. And then the other piece is the Conservation Authority's transfer payment. Again, that's something that the province provides, but for all of our water management activities and those mandatory programs, it was cut in half about 20 years ago, and it's been the same for 20 years and cut in half in 2019. So that amount, $181,213, has remained unchanged. So that's not a whole lot when we're talking the size of budget program that would provide. So with our draft budget considerations, certainly there's those wage costs rising as inflation, but also to remain competitive. I think we're all experiencing that in more rural areas, and there's always a pull, and often to our municipalities when it comes to conservation authorities. We train some good staff, so we do want to remain competitive. We do recognize we've got some GIS upgrades for our software that need to be done. That software upgrade hasn't happened for over 12 years, so it's time. We do also include in our budget a new federal grant for phosphorus reduction. And although that's a Category 3 program, there are some overhead costs that we're able to recoup and lessen those costs to the remainder of our programs and services. But really, there's no new staffing included in this budget beyond those that are already funded through the federal program. Next slide. So we've provided a bit of a program overview as well when we're talking about our operating funding sources, showing our overall budget and the components that we're receiving funds from. So when you look at that pie, I know our finance staff are pretty happy when they see the distribution. The operating levy, again, it's about a third. Self-generated levy, it's about a third. And then different government grants and contracts that we have. And it includes the transfer payments as well. But many of those contracts are contracts that we've gone out and gone after. They're not just annual renewals. These are specific funding programs and projects that we go out to go after those funds, knowing that we've got an opportunity to deliver more programs in our watershed. Just highlighting that. Next slide. So when we're looking at the contributions here in South Huron, we've certainly divided up the amounts that are for operating and those that are more for capital. There's certain amounts that are overall our general levy shown in the beige, and then those that are benefit-based. So those are for major structures that we have. Many of them derive a specific benefit because they're within a certain municipality, and those are how those costs are attributed. So each one we've highlighted in the blue boxes of how much South Huron, their portion, contributes to that, and the majority of South Huron's amount is for those general levies. And so the total being $15,007. Next slide. With capital projects, we've got a lot on the go. Again, the amounts that are attributed to South Huron are quite minor, but Wildwood Dam, we've always followed the recommendations that come out of our dam safety reviews, and there's the safety boom is the big project. There's also some additional monitoring equipment that's being installed this year. So again, we always look for additional funding sources for those and offset those costs when we're eligible for a WECI. Next slide, please. I'm going to touch on cost apportioning agreements. I know that South Huron did not participate. There are one municipality within our watershed that didn't, but I wanted to highlight some of the things that we are doing with that fund and those contributions through those agreements. Again, it's always about our stewardship and restoration programs, delivering on the ground stewardship programs. With that, hand in hand, it's about sub-watershed planning and monitoring, because through those stewardship programs, we have additional monitoring that we do so we can target where those actions are most needed. And then that community outreach and education component comes to making sure that we're empowering communities and youth, making sure that people are educated about the importance of stewardship. So just so you know, you can write this on your calendars. I know it's more regionally, but May 25th, 1 till 4, we're doing the Water Festival. It's in the Flats. And that's really a partnership with many Huron and Perth school boards, also the Huron-Perth Health Unit, and even other partners like OFA. So that, again, goes beyond those regional municipal boundaries, but provides a broader benefit. Next slide. One of the programs that's new this year that's quite exciting, again, for those that are participating, is the Upper Thames River Phosphorus Reduction Program. You may have already read about it. We've been promoting it. It's $17.4 million through to March 2028. And that's really about making sure that we've got on-the-ground phosphorus reduction, and that's through incentives. A huge dollar amount is all flow-through money to get grants to farmers for increasing cover crops, keeping best management practices, and again, keeping those soils on the ground where they're needed and not running off into our water courses. So the other piece of that is education and outreach. And we're also contributing to that through the high school program, what do they call it? The specialist high skills major for the agricultural stream out of Mitchell. So I know regionally that's the hub. That's the one place where you can get that specialist high skills major. So that's being provided through this program as well. So next slide. So I guess just in context, when we're looking at phosphorus reduction throughout the Thames River, the main driver is little bits of soil being lost off a lot of agricultural land. There is a component that's wastewater treatment as well, but when you look at the pie that's shown on the graph there, that the large percentage is from the different branches of the Thames River. And again, all that flows downstream. So it's not just within the Upper Thames River watershed, but when you look at the photo in Chatham, that's not altered, that's green. And so seeing those algae blooms. So next slide, just a little bit again about the phosphorus reduction program. With those grant dollars for cover crops, it's $30 per acre that are not harvested and $15 per acre not harvested. That is harvested or grazed, I should say. There's reduced tillage amounts, again, of the same values. There's livestock water course fencing up to $8,000 and erosion control measures too for $8,000. So certainly would love to see some participation from South Huron. One farmer participating just in doing a grazed or harvested crop, 100 acres would get well over the amount of the contribution. So would highlight that because the contribution, should South Huron choose to move forward with that this year, would be that $1,267. So it's about a 3% increase from last year. We're just trying to maintain that program, but wanted to make you aware that that's a huge opportunity because we are seeing some landowners already reaching out about that. So with that, the last slide here, just wanted to highlight our budget development schedule. We started back in March thinking of our work planning through June, kind of had some budget concepts prepared for our board. In August, putting together our preliminary budget and presenting it to our board October, the end of October. And then I've been going out and seeking input and attending council meetings throughout the watershed. I'll do that through February. But January, any comments that we've received will go back to our board. And then ultimately they'll consider those comments in February at our AGM. So again, this is a draft budget. We're refining that. We're taking comments back. So happy to hear any questions you have. I'm sure Jim here can help answer any questions as well, but a reminder that he's your representative on our board of directors.
Great. Any questions for Tracy or Jim? Councillor Ober.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for the presentation, Tracy. On slide 9, the pie graph that you had there, it has operating levy for South Huron of $17,051. So I'm just wondering where that number came from, because the other slides say $15,007, and even if you were to add, I guess I'm just wondering where that 17,000.
I think that might be a typo. I'm sorry. Yeah, because it should be 15,007 because it's the 14,860 plus the 147 in the benefit-based structure levy. So sorry about that. My apologies.
Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification. Are there any other questions for Tracy this time? Not seeing you. Got off easy. Thanks very much, Tracy. Appreciate that. Thanks to Jim for coming along also. Always good to see you.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. Take care. Ms. Masood-Coulson.
That South Huron Council receives a delegation from Upper Thames River Conservation Authority regarding the 2025 draft budget as presented by Tracy Annan.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. Item number, let's go through 6, 7, please. 7.1.
That South Huron Council adopts the minutes of the budget meeting of November 25th, 2024 as printed and circulated.
And a mover, please. Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor, and that carries with 7. Thank you. Number 8, please.
That the minutes, agenda package, draft budgets, and correspondence of the following committees and or boards be received as presented to council. The Sable Bayfield Conservation Authority, Capital Asset Management Plan and Schedule A Category 3 Programs and Services. Grand Bend Area Joint Sewage Board, minutes of October 10th, 2024. Exeter Business Improvement Area, BIA, minutes of November 13th, 2024. Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, draft minutes of November 26, 2024, and agenda package of December 17th, 2024. Huron County OPP Detachment Board, minutes of October 2nd, 2024, remuneration policy, and 2025 draft budget.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Oak?
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to maybe get some explanation on the 2025 draft budget for the Huron County OPP Detachment Board. Just noticed that the costs are double of 2024. Just wondering, I assume it's because it wasn't a whole year in 2024, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Deputy, go ahead if you want to take that. Or CEO, whichever.
The mayor, I can start and maybe the deputy can add on. Yes, that is correct. The board itself this will be the second meeting of the board. Is it the second or the third meeting tomorrow? The third meeting tomorrow. So yes. It wasn't a full year. Yeah.
Any other questions? Councillor Oak?
So just and great, thank you. That explains, I guess. So just the question then, as far as the cost to South Huron, what do we feel that the cost moving forward to South Huron compared to the old system? What is going to be the difference roughly?
Ms. Masouk also.
Through the mayor, it will be substantially less now because it's being it's I believe per household. And it's spread through the county. So the existing budget that we have right now that we kept from the previous board, there is enough with this draft budget.
Councillor Oak?
So that means that potentially the draft budget that we're working on will be reduced by the amount in this?
At this point, the OPP Detachment Board budget is a draft as well. And I expect that they will be meeting and finalizing it early in the new year. So we just kept our current budget the same.
Okay, are there any other questions? Deputy, go ahead, please.
Just a comment on that budget. Yeah, it'll be going back to the board in January. And I'm presuming there could be some changes because this was just something that was quick at the last meeting and we didn't have a lot of time. So yeah, so we'll see what happens from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions under 8.5.3? We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 8.6, please.
That South Huron Council receives the Exeter Rodeo Committee minutes of August 29th, 2024 and draft minutes of December 10th, 2024. And the council approves the following recommendations of the Exeter Rodeo Committee: that the 2025 Ram Rodeo contract from RMG to South Huron Council be approved and signed, and that an application be prepared and submitted for the Experience Ontario 2025 grant.
And the mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Councillor Oak?
Yeah, thank you. Just wondering, with the application for the Experience Ontario grant, is there any commitment from South Huron to support this application, or is there any financial commitment?
Mr. Curry, did you want to take that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Oak. Yes, there is a commitment required of South Huron. However, given that the event is fully funded in our budget, we would pull from that. There would be no budget impact.
Councillor Oak?
So what just to clarify, so what we have in the budget for the rodeo is usually the contract with RMG. I guess I'm just wondering, do we have a number in that budget for this as well? Because normally it's just the amount that we have for the RMG, or would the difference have to come out of the reserve then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so that contract amount would be South Huron's contribution, so that would qualify as our contribution towards the overall event. So we would be covered.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Curry. Are there any other questions while Mr. Curry is there? Any questions in general? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. There's no further discussion. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, 9, please.
The South Huron Council received staff report BPS 13/2024, security payment options for developers for information.
And the mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Oak?
Mike, just wondered if you could give sort of a high level, what are some of the other municipalities in the area using mostly for? Thank you for the report, giving the various options that are available.
Go ahead, Mr. Rolfe, whenever you're ready.
Through you, the mayor. To the best of my knowledge, the surrounding municipalities are mostly relying on letter of credits. So when you get into the bigger cities, where you're seeing a little bit of the pay on demand surety bonds, and it's sporadic on who's accepting cash. But at this point in time, the LCs is what most of the municipalities are relying on.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Rolfe or any other member of staff? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
The South Huron Council received staff report FIN 26/2024, Strategic Asset Management Policy 2024 update, and that council approves the revised Strategic Asset Management Policy, and that the necessary bylaw be brought back to council for the required 3 readings.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. 9.4.2.
The South Huron Council received staff report CL 23/2024, Marriage License Modernization Program, and that South Huron Council supports the municipality's participation in Phase 2 of the Marriage License Modernization Program, and that the bylaw be forwarded to council for the required 3 readings.
And a mover, please. Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? It carries with 7. Thank you. 9.4.3.
That South Huron Council received staff report CL 24/2024, Annual Accessibility Update.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. 10, are there any notices of motion at this time?
There are none.
Thank you. 11. Anything anybody wish to discuss from the last meeting or from the delegations? Ms. Carlson, do you have a comment?
I don't have any comment as far as the Lambton Shores, Huron Shores area transit. However, there is a follow-up memo from Resolution 516/2024 with additional 2025 budget considerations.
Okay, any discussion on the Lambton Shores presentation? Or comments? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yeah, from a comment perspective, it seems to me that there's quite a journey to get to yes for Lambton Shores in terms of they're going to have to go to every municipality who's already a member and explain what they explained to us. They're also subject to those who want to stay in the transit and those who don't. So whatever budget number we were looking at, like this average of $63,000, is quite fluid, I think, especially since one of the larger grants, the way Steve McCauley explained it, sounded like it was kind of iffy in terms of whether we would be able to get that. We'd have to do some pretty fancy presentation to be in charge. But those are just sort of my comments, that this is a fluid situation. It's hard to pin down in terms of what we might want to do from a budget perspective, and if we even might want to participate if the costs just go crazy when other people bow out. But I was curious in terms of Steve was asking for a resource, notably our CAO, to join the transit committee, or I'm not sure what he called it. And I just wondered if our CAO had thought about that and how she would feel about being a part of that, or just wondering.
Ms. McCalls?
Through the mayor, definitely I would be interested in that once. I think the way that it was proposed, however, is if they're do get the funding, then that's when the steering committee will be appointed. So I think it's more of a, like you said, a wait and see. We don't know that they are getting the funding, but if they do, then that is something that would come back to council. And like you noted, and if all the municipalities were interested in moving forward with it as well. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And I know I did receive a letter from a member of the public, a business person who's in support of the transit, and that'll be on the next agenda item, or next agenda meeting itself. Are there any other comments then? Councillor Neep?
Just more of a question of clarification, because I believe it was 63,000, and that's the average over the 4 years. So that isn't actually what we would be contributing for next year. It would be a portion of that, correct?
That is correct. I believe the first year was at 25 or 29,000. Yes.
Councillor Oak?
Or is that assuming that they actually get the grant funding though? That, because if they don't get the grant funding, it's substantially higher. Like there's two different grants, and if they don't get the first one, then it would be significantly higher. It's 25 if they get the first grant.
And through the mayor, there was very many caveats, because it would have to be all the municipalities providing their gas tax and all, yes. So there is no number, like Councillor Vaughan as well said, it was very fluid.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to discuss? Go ahead, Councillor Oak.
So are we on to the next item, or like under that category, or we're still on the transit one?
Transit, go ahead.
Okay. No, good.
Nothing further then under section 11 then? Do you want to talk about budget considerations or yeah?
Yeah, so you had mentioned it's on the transit one. So now we're on to the budget considerations, 11.2.
Go ahead.
Okay. And thank you, Rebecca, for putting together, and Aaron for putting together the document there. So I wondered if you could maybe high level go through the various options for us, just for further clarification.
Certainly, I can start, and then our acting treasurer could follow up after that. So the South Huron Rec Center rooftop furnace replacement, that's included in the base, as well as in all of the options that are provided later on in the report. There are the forms are attached as well that can provide council with more information on each of the allocations. At the previous meeting, we were charged with bringing back ranging between 2.75% to 3% tax rate increase. And you'll note with just the rooftop furnace replacement, we're at a 2.72% rural and 1.95% urban. So that being the case, we provided further options for council consideration.
Okay, Councillor Oak.
Yeah, so thank you. And some of the other options were from items that had been brought up through discussions. Okay. So I don't know if we want recommendations out of this, or is there anybody else that wants to say anything? my recommendation would be to go ahead with the furnaces and bringing the rest of the amount to get us to an average between the 2.7 and 3 and put that into a reserve amount.
Ms. Sue Carlson.
The mayor. I had our acting treasurer provide me some information as far as the furnace plus $50,000 would be 3.19% rural and 2.36% urban. The furnace plus 75,000 in reserve would be 3.43 rural and 2.57% urban. The 100,000 option is option number 3 in the report.
Any other comments this time? Discussions? Councillor Vaughn?
Yes, Rebecca, I'm just wondering if you could, on the 50,000 one, if you could just tell me what that figure was again for the rural.
For rural, it's 3.19% rural and 2.36% urban.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time? Councillor Oak?
Sorry, I'd like to make a recommendation that we do the furnaces because obviously the one furnace is down and out and the other one was bought at the same time. So there's a good chance that you never know when that might go down. So I'm thinking that that is a project that we probably want to do. And I would recommend the 50,000 putting into a reserve.
Comments, other comments? Okay, so I'll wait for, go ahead, Councillor Vaughn.
Just wanted to say I would second that motion.
Okay, we'll get the motion prepared here and then we'll look for that second. Ms. Sue Carlson.
For clarity, I'm gonna request from our acting treasurer, we need to specify which reserve, do we not? Or,
Welcome, Aaron.
hi, Aaron.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, if we could specify what reserve, whether I'm assuming we're talking about a capital replacement reserve, but if you could also clarify specifically which one, that'd be great.
Councillor Oak.
So I guess there's several reserves that are out there, including the working capital reserve. Would that be one of the ones that could be used if you specify for 2025 projects assigned to it?
Aaron, comments or Ms. Sue Carlson? Aaron, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor. The working fund reserve is where we put any surpluses from a given year. We could, I would recommend that we would consider putting it to a capital replacement reserve, and we could still use from there for future projects.
In light that we're looking at doing something with the Dashwood Fire Hall, maybe we could put it into the fire reserve
Very well.
as one of our major capital projects for 2025.
Okay, we'll look to our Madam Clerk when she gets that recommendation ready. Oh, Deputy, go ahead.
And just another thought, instead of putting everything into reserve, I see the beeline repairs to that structures here. Instead of putting into reserve, why not do them repairs? I know, but he's already got a motion on the floor, so just another thought.
Friendly amendment perhaps, Councillor Oak?
That's engineering for a project, is it not? It's not actual repairs, it's actual engineering. Now, we did put another bridge in last meeting. I just thought it might be, and it doesn't have to go into the fire reserve. That's just one of the ones that I've thought we were doing on a project. So, but I just want a clarification. That is just the engineering on a bridge?
That is correct. That is for the engineering, not for the repairs.
But that's an option too.
Deputy, comment?
I guess, we have to start someplace and the engineering part is the first part. So just a thought, I know it's $10,000, but it, starts moving our, stuff ahead that needs to be done.
Councillor Oak?
And that's fine. I guess I'm just worried that we had 22 projects carry forward this year. I just don't want to, we have a big, heavy project load for 2025 that we approved as well. And so I'm just looking to staff if that is something that would be manageable, another project.
Ms. Basu Coulson?
Through the mayor, yes, I had been advised that it would be manageable to do that engineering project.
Thank you. Councillor Oak?
So is that something that we could amend to add that and then put the difference to bring it up to the 50,000 into the fire reserve then?
It's your recommendation if you wish. to
That
make the
I changed my recommendation to that then.
change. And then Madam Clerk can capture that. Councilor McLeod Haggett, you have something?
Sorry, just for clarification, does that mean that the Huron Shores Transit is not part of the upcoming budget? That's been taken right out then?
Ms. Basu Coulson?
To the mayor, we don't have currently anything in the budget for the Huron Shores Area Transit because it was 100% funded through the grants.
Great, thank you. Oh, Madam Clerk?
To the mayor, just to clarify, up to 50K, including the 9,000. Yeah, okay.
Okay, Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
So that capital project CD 2025-05 South Huron Rec Center rooftop furnace replacement be included in the proposed 2025 budget, and the capital project 2025 TS13 B-line structure 1098 repair engineering be included in the proposed 2025 budget, and that $40,333 be allocated to the fire capital replacement reserve.
So move, Councillor Oak.
So move.
Seconded by Councillor Vaughn.
Yes.
Okay, is there any further discussion or any discussion on this? Okay, not seeing, we call the question, all in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Ms. Basu Coulson?
To the mayor, then, if that is the final for the budget, I do believe that we do have a final tax rate setting. We might need the acting treasurer to provide us the information for what that would mean per household.
And whenever you're ready, Aaron.
Through the mayor. So the increase of the rec center rooftop furnace at $81,408, the B-line engineering of $9,667, and the transfer to the fire capital reserve of $40,333 puts us at a total 2025 levy increase of 4.07%. That's an annual increase on $100,000 of residential assessment of $19.99 rural, $16.97 urban. Annual increase on the average residential assessment of $285,001 of $57.01 rural and $48.41 urban. And it's a tax rate increase of 3.19% rural and 2.36% urban.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Basu Coulson, any comments on that? Fine, good. Any other comments at this time under section 11? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead.
Sorry. Yes, I'm just going to assume that we're going to actually be getting a new summary sheet at some point that indicates everything we just heard.
Ms. Masuka calls.
Through the mayor, the next steps would be to bring the budget back to the next council meeting.
Mm.
And at that point, that would be the January 13th council meeting. And the acting treasurer will have a presentation that will have all that information, and we can make sure that there's an updated summary sheet along with that as well.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
So just for process, council had previously passed a approval of a 2025 draft operating and draft capital budget. So this would be South Huron Council approve the revised 2025 draft operating and draft capital budget, reflecting a 3.19 tax rate increase for Ward 1 and 3, representing approximately $57.01 in municipal taxes for the average residential assessment in South Huron, and a 2.36 tax rate increase for Ward 2, representing approximately $40.41 in municipal taxes for the average residential assessment in South Huron, as presented and amended by resolutions for adoption by council at the January 13th, 2025 regular council meeting.
Mover?
Oh, sorry, through you, Mayor, just one clarification. It was 4841 urban.
4841. Thank you.
Thank you. So we need a mover then. Counselor Vaughn, seconder. Deputy Mayor, any discussion? Counselor Oak?
Yeah, and so the, could you also include the total based on the average assessment in that that motion? The various scenarios, you know, whether it's $1,800 or $2,000, like on the average. That's like in the report that we have the amount per 100, we have the amount, the tax rate and the, but there's also the bottom line shows what the total amount would be.
Okay, does the mover and seconder wish to just comment on that? Deputy, go ahead.
Yes, I see the line where he's looking at, and it might be good to have those numbers. So if someone asks, we can have an answer, but.
Okay, it's a recommendation. We're looking at a motion here. Counselor Vaughn, comment?
No, I would only say that, yes, for clarity, if we have more numbers that we should be putting into that motion, then we should be putting that into the motion.
So a friendly amendment then to include what Counselor Oak is discussing?
I suppose that's called friendly amendment. Yep.
Deputy?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Very well. I'll let the clerk prepare that and read it again. Ms. Calls.
But I think we'll need the acting treasurer to help us out again. I think that'll be what they're asking for, is the 2025 municipal taxes based on South Huron's average residential assessment numbers for both rural and urban.
Through you, Mayor. So for rural, that would be $1,842.20. And for urban, $2,098.59. And again, that's the average based on the 2023 residential assessment.
Okay, thank you. We'll just let staff prepare that and we'll have it reread with the friendly amendment, and then we can vote on it at that time. Thank you.
That South Huron Council approve the revised 2025 draft operating and draft capital budget, reflecting a 3.19% tax rate increase for Ward 1 and 3, representing approximately $57.01 in municipal taxes for the average residential assessment in South Huron, and approximately $1,842.20 for municipal taxes based on 2023 residential average, and a 2.36% tax rate increase for Ward 2, representing approximately $48.41 in municipal taxes for the average residential assessment in South Huron, and approximately $2,098.59 for municipal tax base on 2023 residential average, as presented and amended by resolutions for adoption by council at this January 13th, 2025 regular council meeting.
Thank you. So, satisfied with that, Councillor?
So
Vaughn?
moved. Yep.
Okay, as the mover and deputy, you're the seconder, satisfied with that? If you would say on the record.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Very well, moving right along. No new business. Not seeing any. Mayor and councillor comments. Are there any comments or announcements at this time? Councillor McLeod-Haggett.
Yes, through you, Mayor. On Saturday, we did our 3rd annual Kids Christmas Shopping Day. Myself with Andrea Lusenhausen, and we had about 125, 130 kids come through. And this year we let them actually come in and just pick themselves. Listening to them tell their stories of why they picked a frying pan for their mother, because it brings her joy to get them up and get them breakfast and get them out the house, was perfect. There's a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, and it was just amazing. And this coming Thursday, we do our Angel Project, handing out our gifts and Christmas food hampers again at Noah's Ark. So again, if anyone's available and wants to just pop in and say hi and check it out, you're more than welcome to stop in. We figure we'll have about 300 to 350 families this year probably coming through the door. And it's all donations from community support members. It's pretty fantastic.
Great. Any other comments? Deputy, go ahead.
Thank you. And this, I just want to bring up about the length of meeting for the official plan review. I understand all our meetings are at 5 ahead of our council meeting, but this is a little bit different. So maybe could we, the next one, have it start at 4 or have it a separate day, just so that we don't run out of time. And I understand us having to quit, but I think we need to make sure that we look after the people that come here, and so if we can change that somehow, I think it would be a good thing.
Mr. Colston, comment.
Through the mayor, what we will do is send out a doodle poll to all of council. January is a little tight because we do have Roma and we do have our meeting on the 13th, but it might be possible to do it later on in January, but we'll send that out and see if we can set a meeting date on the 13th, maybe at the next council date, if not before.
Council.
Could we set it for 4 o'clock on the 13th tonight? Would that
still gives you just 2 hours though, but Deputy, you have a comment?
To the mayor, I'm not, I don't know whether 2 hours will be enough. It's hard to say, and then it would be, wouldn't really want to have to do another meeting after that. It might be better just to do a 4 o'clock meeting on a separate date at this point.
Deputy?
Thank you. Yeah, and I would like to see it on a separate date. I know we're kind of booked, but we need to make sure that this gets done in one more meeting. So I would like the separate date.
Okay, thank you. So do you need a motion? Councilor, go ahead.
And thank you. And I agree that now that'll set back the timeline of the adoption of the plan. That doesn't cause any grief, I don't imagine.
Through the mayor, it will set it back. Right now, it's looking to be passed or brought forward, the final draft to council sometime in February, and then to Huron County sometime in March. So it may be a little bit delayed because of this. However, January is already fairly booked. We'll look for a date
And do you need a recommendation to do the, what's described there as a doodle poll, whatnot?
I think we'll just go ahead and just send out a doodle poll to council.
Very well. Any other comments at this time? Councillor Vaughn.
Yeah, just because we're kind of on that official plan thing, I have a question about, I did hear in the last meeting that, Mr. Giberson said we were going to get the water and wastewater master plan in our meeting in January, and I just wanted to, sort of reconfirm that I would really like to have it in January, because as you read through the official plan, it talks about that is one of the studies amongst many studies that informed settlement areas. And I'd like to see if there's something in that study that I should know about.
And through the mayor, yes, I've been assured that it will come to the January 13th council meeting, and that the plan itself will be done by the end of the year. So we should be in good stead there.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments at this time? Okay, not seeing any. So as far as the mayor, the last week or so, I've been busy with different things and attended different events. In particular, on the 12th of December, I attended the Jolt Fitness Jingle Run at McNaught Park that's raised funds for Ronald McDonald House. And quite amazing group of people, raised over $4,000. And again, other events I attended also. But at this point in time, I'd like to point out that our term of council is now more than half over. Within 2 years from now, there will be a new council. If you're wanting to bring forward a notice of motion or do something spectacular, you really only have a little over a year left until we enter the lame duck period time. So questions we have to ask ourselves, have we been successful, or what have we been doing? And if you wish to bring something forward, be more than happy to hear it and bring it forward to council. And in the meantime, Merry Christmas. So that's all I have. And I'll turn to Ms. Sue Collison for communications.
Just let me know which items you want pulled. 14.1, 14.2,
Paul.
14.3, 14.4, 14.5, 14.6,
Pull that.
14.7.
Very well. 14.2. I think 3 people spoke to that. Councillor Vaughn, was that you? Oh, microphone.
I was one of them, but yes, I was just thinking that this is something we should do and wanting to know if that works out in terms of staff and logistics for the Dashwood Center.
Absolutely, it does work out, and it's a good thing to, support immigration partnership on this one. Yeah.
So we need a resolution then?
Yes.
Thank you. Would you like to make a resolution, Councillor Vaughn?
I would.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor. And I'll let our clerk prepare that.
That South Huron Council waive the rental fees for use of the Dashwood Community Center for County of Huron Immigration Partnership, English as a second language classes, as outlined in the request letter of December 10th, 2024.
So moved by Councillor Vaughn,
So moved.
seconded by Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. 14.6, I asked for that to be pulled, and I just turn to staff for a comment, please.
So this is something we should support, especially around the vital mains. The current compensation isn't sufficient for us. So according to our General Manager of Infrastructure and Development, it would be good to support this one.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Neeb, did you want to make that motion to support that?
Yes.
Very well, thank you. And is there a seconder? Councillor Oak? And I'll just let our clerk get that prepared.
South Huron Council support the resolution of the City of Guelph, November 26, 2024, regarding enabling municipalities to charge fees for use of municipal property by gas utilities, and that a copy of the supporting resolution and originating documentation be circulated to the Premier of Ontario, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Minister of Energy and Electrification, MPP Thompson, AMO, and City of Guelph.
Has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you for that. And turn to our recommendation, Ms. Masood-Coulson.
Let South Huron Council receive communication items not otherwise dealt with.
And a mover, please. Counselor Neeb, seconded by Counselor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. Closed session, there is none. No report from closed session. And 17.1, please.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 67, 2024, being a bylaw to authorize entering into an agreement with the Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement for Phase 2 of Marriage License Modernization Program.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor McLeod Haggett, seconded by Counselor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. 17.2, please.
A South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 68, 2024, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a limiting distance agreement between CJC Investments, Inc., Corey Bilkey, and the Corporation of the Municipality of South Huron for the properties legally described as lots 121 and 122 of Plan 376 Exeter, being all of PIN 412430024, known as 424 Main Street South, Exeter, and Lot 120 in Plan 376 Exeter, being all of PIN 412430025, known as 428 and 430 Main Street, Exeter, in the municipality of South Huron in the county of Huron.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Oak, seconded by Counselor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. 17.3.
A South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 69, 2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 69, 2018 of the municipality of South Huron for lands described as concession LRE Lot 3, Less Highway Part Lots 2 and 4, subject to right-of-way over 22R Parts 1, 2, 3, and 5, Stephen Ward, municipality of South Huron.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Counselor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. 17.4, please.
Being a bylaw imposing special annual drainage rates upon land in respect which money is borrowed under the Tile Drainage Act.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Vaughn, Counselor Neeb, and then seconded by Counselor Dietrich. Is there any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. 18, please.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 71, 2024, being a bylaw to confirm matters addressed at November 25th, 2024 budget meeting and December 16th, 2024 public and regular council meetings.
And a mover, please. Counselor Neeb, seconded by Counselor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. And 19, please.
A South Huron Council hereby adjourn at 7:04 p.m. to meet again on January 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Counselor Neeb. No discussion. Call